All right, joining me now is a guy that I interned for back in the day, the glory days of Philadelphia baseball, because it was 2011. Jon Marks.
Pat
John, how are
Egan,
you?
hello. How are you?
Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, I have quite an intern tree, if I
You
may say
do.
so myself. I have quite an intern tree. I would say that you're right at the top. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right at the top of the list as far as accomplishments and guys that I'm proud of. Very proud of you, Pat. So congratulations.
Thanks.
Yep.
I recently told my story of my first day during intern orientation. I told the story on TikTok about how I came in and I was just getting over the flu and I was sick and I was running on like 2 hours sleep and Camille thought I was on drugs
Well,
and
because
I
you
was
were.
wearing basketball.
You were
Yeah,
all aged
totally.
up. Yeah, you were all smacked up. Now, thank God you're now sober. You're not doing drugs, but yeah.
Yeah, when Harry Mays called me out on the air and said we have 17 interns all dressed up and one guy in basketball shorts and a t-shirt, that got my life together.
Yeah, you learned a valuable lesson that you should be overdressed, not underdressed. And basketball shorts and a t-shirt probably weren't the best attire for your first day of an internship. But hell, you know what? Did it affect you? Hell
It
no.
it ended up working out, right? You set that bar low, John, and then you rise up, and that's what I did.
It's a good point. I hear these stories. My former interns, you gave me that. I don't remember that at all. Salchunas, I was talking to Andrew Salchunas a couple weeks ago, and he was telling me, and I'm like, dude, I don't remember any of that at all. So, my memory has faded. Things are a little bit foggy, but I do remember you were my intern once upon a time.
Yeah,
I
way,
remember
way,
that.
way back in the day. Phillies were good then, and they are good now. Tonight they just wrapped up an 18-4, it might be 19-4, whatever it was, drumming of the Atlanta Braves. But this is after they just got swept by the rival New York Mets. Now the Mets are, as of this recording, losing to the Florida Marlins right now, so the lead would
Of
go back up
course.
to would go back up to I believe 5 in the division. But what's your level of concern right now with the Phils?
So I did Pat Gallen's his show on Sunday night that he has on CBS 3, and he asked me about the Mets series, and I'm like, oh, I don't feel good about it at all because the Phillies haven't played well up there, and they've had a nice run here, and they've built a 7-game lead, and it's kind of like the story of baseball. You're rolling, you feel great, and then you're humbled, and you get swept by the Mets, and then the Mets lose to a bad Marlins team, and the Phillies just put 19 runs up. So, really, none of it changes anything for me. We're about 3 weeks to a month away. I'll say 3 weeks away from really knowing where this team is going to be, because to me, losing Zach Wheeler is a really devastating loss. But this is about the chemistry of the team and the offense and how far they can take you. Because I still believe they have the starting pitching that is good enough. And with Duran in there as your closer, it really, really helps the bullpen. It'd be nice if Alvarado was available, but he's not. So really, in a couple of weeks, I think we're going to know where this team is, because they're gonna ride and die with the offense. And if what we saw last year, limping into the playoffs, everybody should have expected them to lose to the Mets like they did. They just didn't have it. So we'll see where they are when they enter the playoffs. But do I think they're winning a World Series this year? I don't. Do I think that they'll win a series and then we'll see where we are? It might be a lot about matchups, who you face, who the hot team is. But I mean, I don't feel great. I feel good, and we'll see where they are in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think baseball is the ultimate, like, are you hot at the right time going into the playoffs? Like, I think if we were sitting here doing a recording in 2008, we probably would have said something similar about the '08 Phillies. And then, they end up getting hot and
Right.
going on that run. You brought up Zach Wheeler and his injury. When I found out, I was with my buddies, and immediately I said to them, you guys know what this means. It means that Aaron Nola is going to start game one. And they said, no. There's no way Christopher Sanchez will start game one. I'll ask you, who starts game one of the playoffs if they're able to set their rotation?
It's not going to be Aaron Nola. The problem with the Phillies rotation is your 3 best starters are left-handed, which is unheard of, right? It's unheard of. You would love, and again, like I said, matchups. We'll see who you're facing, but I mean, is Nola going to be one of your starters in the playoffs? Yeah, you may have to put him in between those starters. Maybe he starts in front of Luzardo. We'll see. We'll see how he's pitching. But he gave up some early runs. Gave up the 3 early runs tonight. He looked pretty good in his last start. That first start off the IL where he gave up, I guess was it 7 earned runs, 6 earned runs?
I lost count after 5.
Well, I mean, he wasn't getting, and between the two of us, we're probably the most notorious, at least in the media, Nola haters. And this is going back earlier in the season where I called him Joe Blanton, and you said you won't watch any of his starts, and I got death threats from people out there. I'm sure you did as well. But
Probably.
yeah, like Nola at least has experience. Luzardo is, I mean, I don't know. He's hit or miss. Sanchez looks great, but the Mets hit him a lot the other night. So yeah, but it's a killer that Wheeler's not there because you know what you're getting out of him every time, essentially coming out there. But again, I'll stand by this. The two teams right now in baseball to me that have the look are the Brewers and the Red Sox. And the Red Sox is a true chemistry thing. I listen to a lot of sports radio in Boston for whatever reason. I enjoy it.
Of course you do.
And when they traded Devers, everybody went crazy because really the trade was to get out from under the contract. And they said, hey, we have these young players. And Devers was a problem in the clubhouse. He didn't want to play. He was mad that they were moving him off third base, even though he's one of the worst defensive third basemen. He wouldn't play first base. He was mad. The Red Sox actually made a really good move, even though they didn't get a lot in return, just to get out from under that contract. And it allowed the younger players and it allowed those guys to play. And if you look at them right now, they are a dangerous team, the Red Sox. So we'll see. But like they're going to need, and here's the other thing, Pat. They scored 19 runs tonight. Everybody's going to say they're winning the World Series tomorrow. You don't hit the same level of home runs come October. And if you're an offense that lives with the long ball and dies with the long ball, if you're not hitting home runs, you're going to have a problem scoring runs. And that's something we've seen out of the Phillies in the last two playoff series.
Fortunately, that is very accurate. One guy, though, that did hit a lot of home runs tonight was Kyle Schwarber. He's good at baseball, John. I think we can say that. Is anybody having a worse season than Dave Dombrowski when it comes to the fact that you told this guy, you Jerry Jones'd it. You told him to go prove it. And now he's sitting at 49 home runs. He had 9 RBIs, franchise record tonight. Like, is there any shot in hell in your mind that he is not back in a Phillies uniform?
No, unless he doesn't want to be here, right? Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier. Like when we're talking about sports in general, who are the players? This is like a sports radio thing. 610-632-0975. What guys have bet on themselves and it worked out better than what Kyle Schwarber has done this year? Remember Joe Flacco? He went into I think he got franchised and he won the Super Bowl. He's the Super Bowl MVP. Now the Ravens still should have told him to F off because he was never the same player after that. No. But still, so you do see this with guys where they say, you know what, I'm going to bet on me. And I would love to know what Dombrowski and the Phillies offered him. Because whatever they offered him, they probably just cost themselves $100 million because Kyle Schwarber is not leaving Philadelphia. If you think John Middleton is going to allow Kyle Schwarber after he hits, how many home runs is he hitting this year, Pat? He's at 49 now. What's he hitting? 55?
I go 56, but yeah, some 55, 56.
Mid-50s. He's their best offensive player. This team is still very much in a win-now mode. That's not over. He's getting 4 for 200. And if the Phillies don't pay him, I'd be shocked. Now, if Schwarber wants to go elsewhere, I know he was flirting with Cincinnati because he's from that area. And when they were playing the Reds a couple weeks ago, he threw out the first pitch and they were really kissing his ass, which is fine. But if Schwarber leaves, it's not going to be because the Phillies aren't willing to pay him top dollar. Kyle Schwarber will be a Philly next year. I'm as close to guaranteeing that as I possibly can.
I could not agree more. Like I'm on record as saying I have a better shot of being on the Phillies than Kyle Schwarber not being on the Phillies next year.
Right.
Because John Middleton has the worst poker face in probably sports. Like we all remember the JT Realmuto stuff and the signed JT and the stupid money. And he's not that guy to hard negotiate. In fact, he's the exact opposite. And you brought up clubhouse chemistry with Rafael Devers and how that was really an addition by subtraction. Kyle Schwarber is like the glue of that locker room. And he's really one of the reasons why I'm confident of them going deep into the postseason is because when you have a loss of Zach Wheeler, you need a guy like Kyle Schwarber to kind of rally the troops. And you saw what he did tonight. I came out of the Mets series thinking, man, Dave Dombrowski might be the only person happy about this because he was slumping. And then next thing you know, he goes off tonight for 4 home runs and or 5 home runs and 9 RBIs or whatever it was. Like, it was, you know, an insane performance.
Yeah, I my Bet Parks pick of the day that I do, you can find it on my social media channels at Jon Marks Media. Today, my bet was Kyle Schwarber multiple home runs. And I've not been good on these bets, Pat. And I went and I looked, I said, all right, how many games has it been since Schwarber hit a home run? Because you're right. It had felt like it was 6 games. He hadn't had a home run in 6 games. He hadn't had that long of a drought since May, the end of May. And you look at the game logs, you're like, all right, sometimes he goes 3 games and he hits a home run. He'll go 3 games, hit a home run, 2 games, hit a home run, 4 games, hit a home run. He hadn't went 6 games, and that's the longest streak all season since late May. So I said, you know what? After losing like that to the Mets, and this is the testament, and this is what you're talking about with Kyle Schwarber. After losing a series like that to the Mets, I can't speak for the rest of the team, and everybody stepped up tonight and they responded. But Kyle Schwarber has been a guy that has shown up in games like this his entire Phillies career. And to come out and have 4 home runs in a freaking game after you got swept by the Mets, it's an all-timer. It's an all-time game. This guy is putting up a Ryan Howard type MVP season. And at what point are we talking about MVP? I know Ohtani and blah, 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 blah. Kyle Schwarber has carried this team all season. And he should be talked about more for the MVP.
I wonder too how much of like in basketball we see it a lot of like MVP fatigue. Guys will win the MVP 2-3 years in a row, and it's just fatigue at that point.
Right.
You know, you get a new MVP. I wonder if you see that with Ohtani and Schwarber this year, because you're right. Like he's in that conversation for sure. If they end up winning the division and, you know, catching up and being, you know, the second best team in the National League, and you know, he's a big part of it. He's got to be up there. I mean, he's not finishing worse than 3rd in the MVP voting. I wonder how many people just go like, all right, we got to move on from Ohtani for a second. We'll give it to somebody else. Schwarber ends up being that guy.
No, you're right. Like Lamar Jackson, he had the numbers to be the MVP last year, but I think the voters are like, all right, like we're giving it to him again. He can't get to a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there's only so many. Jokic won 2 years in a row, and he probably 2 years in a row. He probably should have won it again, but you had the fatigue. He hadn't won a championship at that point. Steve Nash won, I think, back-to-back MVPs, and it's like, but you're not even getting to a finals. How can we keep giving you the MVPs? So are you there with Ohtani? Man, he's so good. But I mean, you can make the case when you're talking about, because it's like, all right, player of the year, most valuable player. Where is this team without Kyle Schwarber right now? Are they a playoff team? Like, I don't know. Probably. Where are the Dodgers with Ohtani? I mean, not that the Phillies have a measly payroll or anything like that. The Dodgers have a $300 and some odd million payroll, right? So it's not like that they don't have a bunch of star talent on the team. The Phillies do as well. But I think you have to consider Kyle Schwarber for the MVP. I really, really do.
I can't help but think, though, John, like, what would have happened if they had made this switch with Schwarber hitting in the 2-hole and Turner hitting in the 1-hole 2 years ago, you know, instead of forcing Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot. I think you're now seeing that the argument of like, oh, he's comfortable was the dumbest argument imaginable, because, you know, I'm sitting here going like 9 RBIs. Like, what would he have had if he was hitting 3rd tonight? You know, I mean, in the typical leadoff position, or in the typical power hitting position, you know, you hit 3rd or 4th. He's hitting 2nd, and he's still leading the National League in RBIs. It's an insane run that we're seeing. And I don't know if we necessarily totally appreciate it. Like Ryan Howard, I think back and I'm like, oh, that's the best power hitting guy I've ever seen in a Phillies uniform. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, like, I followed him in the minors. He was homegrown. You know, we heard about the legend of him in Reading and Scranton Wilkes-Barre. And you look at what he's doing this year, and it's like, it's arguably better, right up there.
Well, I mean,
you know?
and it's also like the RBIs, and a lot of that because he was hitting leadoff. The RBIs, we've never seen the RBI production that he's had this year. He's gotten better.
That's my point. He's better.
I mean, I think he's 32. A lot of people talk about, they're not doing it anymore, but when we would have this discussion 2 months ago, they'd be like, well, he's old. Yeah, he maybe like 3 for 75, and it's like 3 for 75. I don't care if he's a DH. This dude's getting, Black Gritty would say this dude's getting $45-50 million a year, and I think he's played himself even as a DH. Because if you look at teams that are going to have money to spend, and like, what team doesn't want a guy that's great in the clubhouse, that actually has elevated his game, and the hell that he's a DH, but it can hit you 50 home runs. Look at this guy's numbers since he joined the Phillies. One of the great signings in Philadelphia sports history.
Totally.
And now he's overperformed. He's outperformed this contract, and you're gonna have to pay him to keep him. And it's been so much fun to watch. I love Kyle Schwarber. He is so good. It has just been so much fun to watch him here.
Yeah, I was dead wrong about Schwarber. I was one of these guys that just did not think that they should sign him. I wanted Castellanos, and I guess that's a good reason of why I'm sitting here interviewing you and not running a baseball team. I'm trying to find out exactly how many RBIs he currently has. So he's 119.
It's crazy.
John, if he was hitting fourth in this lineup, he would have 140.
Yeah,
that's my point. Like Ryan Howard hit fourth, and he was getting into 145, 150 RBI in a season. Kyle Schwarber's at 119 right now, hitting second.
Yeah, you had said earlier about the leadoff spot. I remember when I was on with Ike, we had Larry Anderson on every Wednesday for years. And what we always used to say was that Kyle Schwarber, we would like to see him hit further down in the lineup, like cleanup or third or second, whatever it is. But he just wasn't as productive in other spots. And LA would kind of be like, yeah, like, all right, well, like, go be productive in other spots, right? Like, you're not a leadoff hitter. And Larry's old school, so he wants the guy that gets on base and steals bases and things like that. And Schwarber's a high on base percentage guy, but he was also hitting like 190 one of those years, right? So, like, he's wherever he's hit this year, whether it's cleanup or second or whatever, he's been completely comfortable. I couldn't find it on BetParks. I think they took it down after the game tonight. But I'm looking on FanDuel right now. Kyle Schwarber's plus 500 for the National League MVP. Ohtani's minus 900, and the next closest to Schwarber is Manny Machado at plus 10,000. So this is a 2-horse race. There will not be. What just happened on my camera?
We got a good look at your office
on my camera here. But yeah, isn't that nice? On my camera here, if I do certain movements, like if I do like that, it'll. So anyway, there you go.
No, it looks good. I like the shirt, by the way. Yeah, it's a lovely shirt.
Yes, and this is old too. It's supposed to look old, but it is old.
I was playing hockey with a guy recently. He had a Philadelphia Blue Jay shirt.
I have one upstairs.
I was like, dude, that's a cool shirt.
Did he get it at Flacco's in Conshohocken?
I don't know where he got it from. I just had met the guy. I just joined the team, but I will ask him next time.
That's where I got mine.
There's a sport starting up next week called football. It's American football, and the Dallas Cowboys recently made a trade. Are you aware of this trade?
No. What So the Cowboys are in Dallas. Is that the team in Dallas? I had heard that. Yes, I saw that they made a trade tonight. Correct.
All right. There's so many different directions I could go with this, but I think Jerry Jones needs to thank the Brown family, Mike Brown from the Bengals, for really taking away a lot of the spotlight at how bad of a job he's done this offseason. But your initial thoughts on the Micah Parsons trade as a Birds fan and him getting traded and staying in the NFC. What did you take away from that?
It's funny you mentioned the Bengals because my first thought was there are two teams in the NFL that wouldn't have re-signed Micah Parsons: the Bengals and the Cowboys.
Yeah,
for different reasons. The Bengals can't get out of their own way, and they're notoriously cheap. And the Cowboys, because it's all about Jerry Jones and it's all about ego. Jerry Jones traded away a future Hall of Famer that will now not go into the Hall of Fame wearing a Dallas Cowboys jersey. He'll go in as a Green Bay Packer if he ends up staying in Green Bay for 6 or 7 years, and he's going to be he's a great player. Give me another example of a player as good as Micah Parsons, as young as Micah Parsons, like really just entering his prime that a team couldn't come to terms with and pay. Because there's no other example in recent
Khalil Mack's probably the only guy I can compare him to, and I'm taking Parsons over Khalil Mack.
Right. And Khalil Mack was a really, really good player. And that didn't end up working out well for the Bears. He was a good player in his first couple of years for the Bears. And I think that's where you get the 2 first-round draft picks was like that's kind of – but they got more for Khalil Mack than just 2 first-round draft picks. I think there were additional things that were in there. Yeah, like, I mean, honestly, I don't think it really changes much with the Cowboys. I was on record for one of the prop bets that I have on BetParks, and what was one of my bets was to take Dak Prescott as the passing yardage leader in the NFL this year. And this is exactly why. You're going to get more garbage time yards out of Dak Prescott because that defense is not going to be good this year. And they're going to be throwing the ball. Dak Prescott is the biggest garbage time yard touchdown quarterback in the NFL today. A lot like Phillip Rivers was before, especially at the end of his career. I still think Dallas is a borderline playoff team. They have a very good offense. CeeDee Lamb's one of the best wide receivers in the game. So like no one's going to think the Cowboys are a Super Bowl contender because they're not. If they make the playoffs, they're going to lose. We all know that. But like I would still take the over in wins. I think they're over under 7.5 wins on the season. That's crazy. And like we'll see. A week from where we're recording this right now, the NFL season opens with the Eagles at the Link against the Cowboys. I'll be curious to see where that number goes. I don't think this is necessarily an easy game. Dak Prescott's had a lot of success, but with all that being said, back to Micah Parsons. It's Jerry Jones and Mike Brown of the Bengals are the only two owners that will allow this to happen. And it's not surprising, but it is like, I still can't believe it happened. It's unbelievable.
Does anybody have a number on Micah Parsons?
Yeah.
Really. Anybody have a number on that guy? Here, try this.
And you know what? Like 2 first-round draft picks, and they're the end of the first round. I just like, if you were going to trade him, and Jerry had made comments to Ian Rappaport that this was like a plan that he had, or like this was something that he wanted to do or he was going to do. Like, if you would have really went into the offseason, like Jerry's done this where it's like, all right, a lot of times he just makes guys earn it. He wanted Micah Parsons to earn it again. He made Dak Prescott earn it, which really means he pays him tens of millions of dollars more than if you just pay him, right? Yeah. He actually traded him away, which is crazy. So you could have gotten more if you would have done it the right way. But, Micah Parsons, I'm sure he'll be a lot happier in Green Bay.
Yeah, he's. I think he could have a better shot at winning in Green Bay than,
for sure,
Dallas. It's amazing. Like, Jerry is quoted as saying, like, well, these draft picks could help us. We could get a real player. And I quote tweeted it and said, yeah, you might be able to get a player like Micah Parsons. It reminds me a lot of the Titans when they traded AJ Brown and they drafted Treylon Burks. And it's like, okay, so you just drafted a guy that you hope will be as good as AJ Brown. It makes, honest to God, man, it makes me appreciative of Jeffrey Lurie.
For sure. No,
this stuff doesn't happen with Jeffrey.
No, and it never would. And that was my reaction to when they traded for AJ Brown was like, let's just pay AJ Brown. What are you doing? AJ Brown's already like, you already have it. Like, he's there. He's in his prime. Treylon Burks, I don't think he's on the team anymore. I think the Titans cut him. No, he's not on the team anymore. So like, how did that trade go down? That's how guys lose their job, right? And that's why the GM lost their job. Mike Vrabel, who wanted to keep AJ Brown, who knows what happens if you actually keep him? You have a competent GM. Think about this. And Pat, I'm a little bit older than you, but I grew up during a time where I thought the Eagles were going to win a Super Bowl because they had Randall Cunningham, they had Reggie White, they had Seth Joyner, they had Jerome Brown, they had all of these all-time great players, and we watched the owner, Eric Allen's in the Hall of Fame now. We watched the owner just say, no, we don't want Reggie White. We're not going to pay Reggie White. Like, this was at the start of free agency in the NFL. I watched Keith Jackson leave, Reggie White leave, Clyde Simmons leave, Seth Joyner leave. I watched these all-time great players leave, and it's like I can't believe this is happening. And like that's what the Eagles did. That's what they did back then. Jeffrey Lurie, you've never seen the Eagles lose a player that they wanted to keep. Milton Williams, you can't pay everybody. Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, guys like that. When was the last time where it's like this great all-time future Hall of Fame player that you said, you know what? Like, no, we're not going to keep him. And maybe T.O., and that was over 20 years ago now. And I'm going to have to continue to talk. Oh, Pat's computer died. All right, well, anyway, it really is a testament to Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, because you're not able to keep all of these players unless Jeffrey Lurie cooks the books. So you've seen this now, and you're going to hear more about it. These owners are mad at the Eagles because they found the loophole, and they know what they can do, and they know what they have to do. Is that if you want to keep your players, all you have to do is be willing to pay them up front. And if you pay them up front, then you're able to redo the contracts, and then you accelerate the signing bonuses, and you rip up the contracts, and you keep pushing, kicking the can. Because for years, the media and dummy fans from around the NFL, but the media didn't even understand what they were doing. Oh, it's going to catch up with the Eagles at one point. It'll catch up with the Eagles. No, it doesn't catch up with the Eagles, because as long as you don't have a dead end, you can just keep kicking the can in the future, kicking the can, Pat. So Jeffrey Lurie willing to spend as much money as he spends is why you're able to sign all these guys. Jerry Jones is cheap as hell. He can sign all these players. Last year, Jerry Jones, Pat, had said they couldn't afford Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry, I think, what did he get, $9 million guaranteed?
Yeah.
From the Ravens. They gave Ezekiel Elliott $3 million guaranteed. The Cowboys said, Jerry Jones said we can't afford him. We couldn't afford him. You can afford any player you want to. Just give him a contract with the dummy years. They're cheap.
It is that simple. It's your owner willing to cut the check. This is how much of a professional Jon Marks is. My computer died as I was trying to plug it in, and I come back and you just you kept rolling. That's a professional. This isn't doing sports radio in Shreveport, Louisiana, Johnny.
No, and I did national radio for many years, and a lot of times I was talking to myself for segments at a time because I worked the overnight shift or I worked the shift. But my least favorite shift, and I didn't realize it because the overnight shift was killing me. So I started doing Sunday night from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., not realizing during football season that a lot of the stations were carrying Sunday night football. So for 2 hours of my 4-hour show, I was essentially talking to very few people out there. And then the game would be over, and you would have the post-game show, and then I would get people that would call in, or then people that were listening again. So I'm very skilled at talking to myself.
Yeah, I always said one of the best hosts at the Fanatic was a guy named Joe Stazak, if people remember Joe, because they would always stick Joe. They'd go, hey, Joe, we need you to do 5 hours after the Philadelphia Charge game. And he would do it. He'd find a way to do it. And I don't know if it was a good radio. It probably wasn't. But next, big 1-1 tie for the girls. Joe Stazak here, 97.5, the Fanatic.
That's a good Joe Stazak.
Oh, I was, yeah. Well, the impressions they're deep. But yeah, he would end up getting through 5 hours somehow, following like the esports team in Philadelphia that we were carrying for no reason. So
holy crap.
Yeah, it was some rough time right there. All right, last one before I'll let you go after this one, and I appreciate you just holding the fort down as I was dealing with my computer issues. Did you care at all about the T Swift engagement? Was there talk in the house, because you are the only guy in the house, and there are 4 girls in the house? Was the T Swift engagement discussed?
So my wife, like it was around bedtime, because like all the girls went running over. Not my little girl doesn't really understand, but I have a 3rd grader and a 4th grader, and they went running over, and my wife was like showing her something on her phone, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, what is going on? And then it was like, oh, she's telling them that they got engaged. I legitimately couldn't care less. I'm fine with I'm fine with Travis Kelce, like whatever Taylor Swift. I'm sure she's a total lunatic and everything else. She's the biggest star in the world. Like, she's not really an Eagles fan. She's a phony Eagles fan. I wish them nothing but happiness. Now, I do have to say this, that when they started dating, I made Howard Eskin a retirement bet. I said, if they get engaged, if they get married, you have to retire. Because he was saying it was a phony thing and it was arranged and it wasn't real. And at the time, I was like, yeah, like they look like they're like in love. Like this is legitimate. And I didn't know if I believed it or not, but I was just tweaking Howard. And I made Howard say, hey, fine, I'll retire if they get married. So they haven't gotten married yet, but Howard agreed to retire if they got married. Now, his retirement was forced. He's doing he's doing a social media show now, and I love Howard, but I don't know if Howard was happy for the kids. But listen.
Are you gonna hit him up and say, all right, enough? Like you gotta actually retire. No more social media. Yeah, you gotta reach out.
I should text him. Yeah, like, dude, wait till she does the halftime show at the Super Bowl this year. That's what I'm expecting to happen.
It'll be the only halftime show I completely skip.
So you're anti, because Like
I need a separation between NFL and T Swift. Like there's a separation between church and state. I need that for Taylor Swift and the NFL. I don't particularly like her. It really irked me that like she went from being this diehard Eagles fan to acting like she was watching Brody Croyle sling the rock in Chiefs Kingdom. But
yeah, but did anybody actually believe she was a diehard Eagle fan?
Well, it's tough when you're in the same box as Kylie Kelsey, who won't even wear anything Chiefs, and it's like that's my queen. Kylie's my queen.
Oh yeah, she's legit.
But at the same time, I turn into that gif of Jay-Z when he's trying to act like he's not bopping along and he's like angry bopping. That's me with Taylor Swift music because I know it all. I enjoy most of it, you know. But yeah, for a guy that's surrounded by women, I need to get your take on that. And then finally, you are the softball coach for your one daughter's team.
No, I'm not.
Oh,
not
you just went.
Yeah, I'm not coaching. I was an assistant coach. It's fall ball. I don't have. I'm too busy during the fall with stuff. So springtime I may do it, but yeah, fall ball. No, I wish they weren't playing softball in the fall. Quite honestly, because I have cheer. My daughter's in cheer and softball, and then I have gymnastics, and then there's games on Saturday for the football because they cheer for the football team, and then there's competitive cheer that they also do, Jesus. And then there's softball games on Sunday.
When do you mix in Temple football?
When Al Golden and Matt Rule were the. Actually, I didn't see what Nebraska was doing tonight. I saw Nebraska was playing tonight against Cincinnati, and I still follow Matt Rule, and I still very much believe in Matt Rule. Love Matt Rule.
I love Matt Rule. I remember this was after his first year at Temple. The team had 2 wins, and it was me and my girlfriend at the time and like a bunch of her friends. We went to McGillen's, but there was like a back area of McGillen's, like a beer garden area, and we were sitting there and like I'm bored out of my mind. I'm not drinking and they all went to the bathroom. All the girls went to the bathroom because one can't go by themselves. And all of a sudden, Matt Rule and Phil Snow walked in. And because our table had room, they were like, hey, is there room here? And I was like, absolutely, there's room. Gave away the girls' table. They come back from the bathroom and they're kind of looking at like, who are these middle-aged guys? And I'm like waving them over like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is Temple's head coach. And he realized what happened. He could not have been cooler. And he was like, no. Like I stood up. I was like, you can have my seat. He's like, no, you're good. And I'm like, yeah, you have.
Uh-oh. Now we have frozen Pat. Yeah, Pat's got to get his recording better. Matt Rule, one of the all-time great dudes. Like just great, genuine, gets it, smart. Everybody loves him. I can't say, and yeah, he's Nebraska, and I'm still following and rooting for him and very much believing in him. I was disappointed that it didn't work out for him in Carolina, but I'm not sure who it would have worked out for with that owner and everything right then. And honestly, like he shouldn't have been put in charge of the organization. Matt Rule going to a strong organization with foundation where he's not necessarily picking the players is absolutely positively what would have been better for him. So, yeah, Pat's gonna be back in a second. A forced system update. Well, I'm just gonna talk like too bad this isn't live, so we could actually do it. But yeah, Matt Rule, one of the great all-time guys. I remember was it at a fantasy fest, the Fanatic Fantasy Fest, where we got him to come and like, yeah, because his like right-hand man, who I believe is still out, he's in Nebraska with him. He went to Carolina with him. He went to Baylor with him. It was a local guy that actually knew one of my buddies, and he was like, oh, give me a Corona. So like we're just sitting there chopping it up with Matt Rule, and he's drinking a Corona, and he's one of the guys that like when you're dealing with athletes and entertainers and radio people, and I can think of many people in the radio business that I've spoken to in recent years, that when I saw them, one in particular, He didn't ask me one question about it. Hey, how are you doing? How's your family? Hey, congratulations. You've really done well. It was all about me asking him, me asking him, me asking him. Matt Rule's like the opposite, asking questions about you and how you doing? Oh, well, like he remembers things about you from the past. So
my computer decided to do a complete update in the worst time. Jon, thanks so much for holding down the fort, taking the time, all that. You can follow him at Jon Marks Media. I'm sure he's got news coming up on where you will be working.
Do you want? I can break it right now. Break it. You want to break it right now? And what's the name of your show anyway? I'm sorry. Is it the Pat Egan Show?
It's technically the whole show is Pat Egan's Second Rate Sports Show, but the channel is just Pat Egan.
Oh man, you have your own channel. So coming up here in a couple weeks, 6:10 a.m. I'm going to be back on 6:10 a.m. with Angelo Cataldi. It's Angelo Cataldi, Johnny Marks, and the Morning Zoo. Coming to 6:10 a.m. in a few weeks. So that's my next destination. I broke it right here on Pat Egan's Second Rate Show.
That's
trying to get you some subscribers, man.
That's exactly why it's a second-rate show. I can't wait for the Crossing Broad article. All right, Jon, I appreciate it, man.
All right, Pat. Later, man.
See ya.